Hello everyone, a warm welcome to join the Seafood Talks podcast channel, where we dive deep into the minds of industry leaders. Join the Seafood Talks, elevate your leadership journey. Today, I am Vijayananda, your host for this channel. On this, join the Seafood Talks episode 1. We are joined by Mr. Sambasivan, the CFO of Tata Play Limited, having over 30 years of professional experience in finance and general management. And we have Mr. Prakash Francis, the CEO of Enterprise Hiring Solutions, having over 20 years of professional experience in talent acquisition industry. Our guests have a wealth of experience in the industry, and we are excited to learn from their insights and strategies for success in this ever evolving industry. The theme of the discussion is navigating the future, strategies for dynamic leadership in a rapidly changing world. Let's dive into the discussion. This is to Sambasivan sir. Uh, could you share your life journey and how your leadership style has adapted over the years?
Yeah, Thank you once again. As I said, I'm Sambasivan. I joined the industry in 1992. I am a chartered accountant of 1987, qualified in 1987. And then subsequently for 3 years, I was working in a CA firm, post which I did my MBA PGDM from IIM Ahmedabad for 2 years, after which I joined Procter& Gamble. Then I spent a few years there. Then I moved to another company called Reynolds Ball Pen Manufacturing. It was called JM Pens. People might have known about this brand. I spent about 3 years, 3.5 years there. Post which I joined what is now VI, Vodafone India. It was earlier I joined in BPL Mobile. I spent about 15 years there, handling various portfolios, starting with the head of finance, then including the role of a CEO as well, for one of the circles, which is Kerala. I spent 3 years in Vodafone Group between 2010 and 2013 as the group regional financial controller, handling Europe, handling a part of Europe, which is called covering countries like Germany, uh, UK, Netherlands, Ireland, roughly about 19 billion pounds of revenues and around 3 billion cash generating units total value. So I spent about 3 years there in the UK. Then I came to India in 2013, and since then, for the last 10 years, I've been working as CFO in Tata Play, which is a very, I would say, happening company and a happening industry. So this is my kind of what you can say the experience. As regards the kind of leadership positions, I was fortunate to start leadership position very early in my career, right since Reynolds Ballpen days when I was head of an operations, head of an operating unit, handling 400 million ballpen manufacturing, working in Pondicherry. So I was fortunate to handle multiple roles, including manufacturing, finance, general management in multiple different companies. So I would say that I've learned a lot in these 30 plus years. I would say around 35 years. And Vijay, I can answer any specific questions, because I just thought um, the different types of industries which I have worked has given me a good idea about how an FMCG works, or how a small scale industry works, and or how a media and entertainment industry works. So this is given good, and the telecom industry works. So this has given some good experience over the past 35 years. Yeah, Vijay, I'll wait for your next question.
Thank you, sir. That was a wonderful journey. Mr. Prakash, this is to you. Could you share your life journey and how your leadership style has adapted over the years?
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. So I'll try to be brief because my life journey is definitely not a career journey. Life journey, of course, is different. Career journey is definitely not as illustrious as Mr. Sambasivan. So, well, I come from engineering background, NIT Roorkela. I passed out in '92, and that was a time when jobs were not as plentiful as they are now. So even though I passed out from NIT, it was difficult, and I was part of a very core sector, core branch, which is metallurgical engineering. So I landed a job in a foundry, which I was not enjoying much. So I went to do my MBA. Post MBA, I joined the telecom industry, Aircel as we know it now, and I was part of the initial launch of Aircel back in 98 or so. And we were launching Aircel, and I was later on coordinating the one of the branches which Aircel set up for setting up the telecom center, which was in Trichy. So I was involved in setting up those operations, doing the initial research work and stuff. And for a couple of years, I was with Aircel, enjoying my time there. But it so happened that I had a tough situation at home, and I had to leave to take care of my mom. And during those times, during that gap, when I was in between, again, when I wanted to get back, I had placed my resume with some of the consultants, and ABC called me for an interview. So I thought, just like anything, they might be having some offer to discuss. They actually had an offer, but they had the offer with their own firm. Where they wanted somebody to be part of their Coimbatore branch. So that's how I got into recruitment. So ABC, the good thing about ABC was that they give you a lot of freedom and to operate. So that gave me a lot to learn and to operate very independently. And I was developing business uh, during in Coimbatore, manufacturing sector in Kerala. And since I came from a telecom background, I was able to interact and get business in the telecom industries. Telecom was booming those times, and so that's how I got cut my teeth in recruitment and placement. So it was a very good learning experience that time. And then I moved to Bangalore. I was been with ABC. I was with ABC for roughly around 3 years, and after having known how the industry kind of works, the recruitment placement industry, I decided to start out on my own. It was a pretty, what should I say? Looking back, I would say it was a pretty drastic decision. But then the industry was vibrant. Bangalore was a place where there was a lot of recruitment happening, and I decided to strike out. I had one client at that time with whom I had a pretty good rapport. So set out with that as a base from my bedroom, and from my bedroom with one desk and one computer. Then within 3 to 4 months, I moved out to an office because positions were coming in and I was able to add clients. So that's how I grew from a single man operation to a two-man operation, and then to nearly around 10 to 12 people at one point in time. And sometimes, when things are growing very well, you tend to assume that everything is going to be well always. So they made some bad decisions as far as investments was concerned. I thought I'll get into real estate and stuff, and badly kind of miscued that. So I had to cut down and cut down my team, and I had to let go of the office, and uh, took some time to get back. And now I am operating with a three-member team, and trying to put the team back in place, and to add more business, try more different aspects of recruitment and talent management. There is so much happening. So that is the phase I am right now, in a kind of a rebuilding phase, if you can put it that way. And if you ask me what to talk about leadership, well, I'd say this, that leadership is very person based, situation based, if I can put it that way. And to be effective, we need to be in a position to uh, adjust our style of leadership to what is demanded of us. That is what makes leadership so dynamic, and so and everybody is there to give advice about how to be a good leader. Anybody can be a good leader, provided they are willing to adjust themselves to what is needed of that particular situation. One of the best leaders that I try to emulate, if you can put it that way. I try to look at him and learn from how can you be better in different situations. And that is an icon of our sporting space. I don't know how many of us follow cricket, but Dhoni is one person I feel is one of the best things about leadership is being present and knowing what requires to be done. I think that's what sets Dhoni apart. He might not be a great player per se. He has a lot of records to his credit, but one of the things that sets him apart from everyone else is his ability to know the situation. So I think a person who understands what is happening, who's fully in the pulse of what needs to be done, can maneuver around his weaknesses, his team, and his resources, what are available to him, to come out victorious. That is one specialty of Dhoni. As far as cricket is concerned, cricket is a very narrow space. I agree, but even if he doesn't have any good resources, he's able to maneuver his resources, rally them around to get the best. Same thing as a leader, as a business owner. Whatever resources we have, we need to maneuver. A leader should be in a position to harness those resources and get the best out of them. I guess that's what sets a leader apart. Some leaders might be having great resources. So it is not about comparing oranges to apples. It is about, given the situation that we are in, how best we are able to manage it and help the people, or lead, help, guide, mentor, and be of service to the people around us. That would be my take in a very general way about what I understand by leadership. If you have any specific questions, you can please. Over to you, Vijay.
Thank you, Prakash, for sharing this wonderful journey. Sambasivan sir, I have a question to you. How do you define dynamic leadership in the context of today's ever-changing business environment?
Yeah, this is actually a very good question, Vijay. In fact, Prakash very nicely explained that leadership is actually contextual, and I am a big follower of cricket, so I can resonate very well. And I also like Dhoni's selfless kind of leadership. If you see in any photograph, he'll be standing behind. He puts his team in
True.
front, and he doesn't even come in front when there is a victory, right? So
True, true.
that sets him apart from all the other leaders when people want to take credit for something done by others, whereas he's the other way around, right? So that's one aspect, and I also would like to add that in a dynamic changing environment, right, we have a lot to learn. Lots of new things are happening. So two things I would say, a leader, it's now becoming mandatory. A is that we have to unlearn and relearn new things. So that is something which is becoming a necessity. So in the past, in fact, I keep telling my team, in the past, when I became a chartered accountant in 1987, you could say that okay, your rest of your life with one CA you can complete and you can retire with one CA, right? That's possible, and you will live a comfortable life. But in today's world, if somebody is becoming a CA, let us say tomorrow or in 2024, at best he can survive with that qualification. My gut feel is that for the next maybe 8-10 years. Beyond that, that will become redundant, and he has to learn something new or some add more skill sets. So one single skill set or one professional qualification may not suffice for a career of say 20, 30, 40 years. I think so for future. You may need to have at least two or three skill sets which are different than each other, and the combination of that will keep you alive and surviving. That's one, which means that we have to keep learning. And things we have to learn are something totally new. For example, things around artificial intelligence, machine learning, or a blockchain, or a generative chat GPT, or you can see data privacy, cyber security, ESG. These were terms which are not even popular like RPA. Say 10 years back, these terms were not popular. Say in 2010 or 2011, if somebody says artificial intelligence, they'll say, what is artificial intelligence? What is chat GPT? There's nothing like chat GPT. There is no data privacy or something like that. So a lot of things have changed. So many of the work which I was doing, say in 1990s and the 2000s as a CFO, I'm not doing those things. For me, in those days, it was important for me to get the figures right, the numbers right, and just to publish the output of the P&L cash flow was itself a major task. Now, these are all taken for granted. Bank reconciliation used to be some task some 20, 25 years back. Now, nobody even talks about the word bank reconciliation because these are all auto reconciled daily basis, right? So, many of the activities which we used to do, I used to sign a lot of checks, say 25 years back. Now, I'm not signing anything. Nobody is signing anything, right? So, things have moved so fast that you have to do more business partnering is another thing which I think from a finance perspective, I'm saying generally as a leader, you need to understand the business very well. Whether you are a sales guy or whether you are a say marketing person or a legal person, everybody needs to understand the business. Everybody needs to understand technology. Everybody needs to understand digital transformation is what I feel for surviving as a leader. It is not a domain only for IT. Earlier, IT used to do all this digital work. Now, every function has got their own. For example, I have a lot of data scientists in my team. I have got the cyber security hackers, ethical hackers in my team. They are nothing to do with the hardcore finance work which we used to do. So there are forensic investigators in my team to look at fraud and in a certain way. So these are things which were not there as part of the role of finance. So that's my take is that leadership means that you have to keep unlearning and learning a lot of new stuff, and things are only changing faster than ever. In the last 10 years, the changes are really, really fast, and the next 10 years, the changes will be even faster than the previous 10 years. So that's my take on the qualities needed for dynamic leadership to keep pace with the change. Thanks, Vijay.
Thank you, sir, for the insights on dynamic leadership, unlearn and relearn. Prakash, this is to you. What strategies do you employ to keep your team motivated and focused during the times of ambiguity and change?
Sure, Vijay. Thank you for that question. Good question on strategy. But before that, I just want to add to what Mr. Sambasivan was mentioning about the dynamism and the in leadership that is required. I fully am with him when it says that when he says that we have to be continuously learning and upgrading. The pace of change is so much that we need to be continuously doing that. And one of the biggest challenges what people face, I mean, even highly accomplished or even highly accomplished leaders, sometimes what happens is that since the world is telling them that they are so great and that the fact they assume that they know it, or when they approach the learning process with the feeling that okay, they have been there, done that, that kind of erosion in humility, if I can put it that way, impacts their learning. They come to the learning process with an with the knowledge that they have already learned so much, and this additional learning is just another. But what is happening is a lot of learning that we have is sometimes needs desperate requirement of unlearning some systems that we follow, habits that we have with regard to the way we work. Sometimes they just need to be thrown out of the window, and we have to totally adapt to new ways of thinking. I'll give a very simple example. Earlier, when we used to reach out to candidates, we invariably used to reach out to candidates over phone, and that was the norm. But we somehow the assumption was that if you are not reaching out to the candidates, mail is not going to be impactful. But over a great cost to ourselves and my team, I used to tell the team that no, you have to speak to the candidate before. There is no two ways about it. Now over a period of time, I realized at a great cost that some candidates, maybe nearly 50% of the candidates, actually preferred connecting over email rather than over the phone. So we were putting in a lot of effort which was not warranted. 10 years ago that would have worked, but down the line candidate preferences have changed. They don't want to be disturbed, and it was actually backfiring on us. So this realization happened, and we changed to doing both, so that we are covering all bases. We reach out to the candidates over mail, and we reach out to the phone. If we are unable to reach out to the phone, again we are sending mails and following up. So this is a very very simple example which I shared. So unlearning is absolutely important. Now coming to strategies that I employ, I don't know whether to call it strategies or my simple way. I have a small team, as I was mentioning. I have a small team of 3 people, and mostly we work remote. So we have to get the work done. I have to get the work done out of my team while they are working remotely. So my simple strategy is to communicate. I communicate, err on the side of communication is what I believe. That is my basic strategy. We somehow I feel that I felt that sometimes being on camera actually takes the energy away out of people, and this is my belief. I might be wrong. So I am continuously available on phone. We are always non-stop on phone, discussing every aspect of positions, what needs to be worked on, about candidates, phone and email. So that is one way to keep the people in mind, because when we are talking about when people are remote and when people are working out of their homes, then the likelihood of their motivation going down is very high. So continuous communication is my strategy. Of course, I we do have a weekly or bi-weekly, we try to bring together them over some kind of a small chat or a game or some kind of a presentation. So the if I am not going, I don't want to use the word strategy per se, but I would say one good way. That is what I would say. My team strength is that we are very very well connected, even though we are remote. Of course, you'll have to ask my team also, but the based on the freedom with which they are able to connect with me, I assume that they are also in sync. Being open, discussing everything and open in communication helps a lot to maintain to build that what basic trust or and once people trust each other, I guess things follow. So I would say from my side, I would say communicate on the side of excess. Over to you, Vijay.
Yes, Prakash, I agree with you. Communication and be open, these are always important for a team. Thank you for your insights. And Sambasivan sir, this is to you. What qualities do you look for in your team members to ensure they are adaptable and resilient in the face of change?
Yeah. So, see, I have a team of roughly 100 people in my function. We also, when I say finance, I for us it is including supply chain is also part of finance in Tata Play, and also there's a strategy function which is there. And there is something called a business excellence function which is there. And since I think Prakash is from telecom, he would know that there is a function called revenue assurance, which is typically a telecom related function. So we have a revenue assurance function which also rolls up into finance, apart from the normal tax treasury. So we have a large team, I would say. 100 is not a small number. So the most important thing which I'm looking for in the people is the positive attitude, first of all. So I think that's I think is very very important. Yes, when we go for qualifications and experience, you get to a certain minimum level of what you can say intelligence. You can kind of assume it is there, and we have not uh, failed in that assumption most of the time, because if the person has done a professional qualification, if he's an MBA from say any of the IIM, or if he's a CA, or he's an ICAA, or some qualification they have done, or an engineer from good say IIT, then we can assume that they will have some minimum level of technical skill set which is there. But what distinguishes is the attitude, which is actually more important for me. And the second is that curiosity. Like as I said, unlearning and learning. We need to have people who are actually curious. When you are curious, what happens is that you just don't stop with what you know. You always want to know what next, what else we can do, and that openness and transparency to accept new ideas. Right. So this is something which we clearly look forward in terms of learning ability. As a company, we have this culture called CEO culture. I'll take a couple of minutes to explain what is the CEO culture. Each letter stands for one word. C is for collaboration, which means that we believe that every individual, we have got about say 1600 people in the company, and each one of us is expected to collaborate well. When we say collaboration, it's team player, that we need people who are team players. We don't want people who take the ball alone and who work in silos. We generally work in a very very collaborative fashion, which means that we run a lot of small projects. At any point in time, the company will be running close to 100 cross functional projects which are being reviewed at the CEO level, right? So we are a highly project oriented company and collaboration oriented, cross functional work oriented company. That is one. Second is that we also look for people who can experiment, bold enough to or courageous enough to experiment innovative ideas. So that's another quality which we look for, people who can actually take charge on new ideas and start working on innovative solutions and see how we can move forward. So E is for experimentation, and third O is for ownership. So collaboration ownership means that you take the ball and you take real ownership for the activity which we are doing, rather than saying that okay, this is only my job, there's something else the other person has to do. What will I do if the other person doesn't do? What will I do? So we want people who can take charge of things and they can run with the whole thing and work in a collaborative way and actually own a project or an activity or a responsibility, whichever way we look at it. So these are three more what you can say, you can call it softer skills, but these are very important softer skills. Collaboration, experimentation, and ownership are the three skill set we look for in each and every individual in our company. not necessarily only finance. Hope that gives some idea, Vijay. Yeah. This is an idea from our CEO actually. This was brought out by our CEO, who is Mr. Aritnath Paul. It was his brainchild. This CEO culture. Yeah, yeah,
Indeed, having CEO mindset, which is very important, definitely it is adding value to the organization. Having collaboration, experiment, ownership. This emphasize adding value to the organization. Thank you, sir, for the insight and this great strategy. Thank you. Prakash, this is to you. Could you share a situation that shows the principles of resilience and adaptability?
Okay. I wish, see, the resilience and adaptability is something that, to some extent or the other, we are all resilient, we are all adaptable. Now, what sometimes, if you look at it this way, when you are from an entrepreneur perspective, if you're we are uh, being a small firm in an environment where there are so many different talent acquisition firms, and then you are constantly competing. You are competing for the clients, you are competing for candidates, you are competing for positions. You have to be constantly reinventing, if I might put it this way. Now, reinventing, it sounds like a very big word, but it actually is all about keeping on trying out different means, different ways to approach candidates, to different ways to approach clients, getting clients. So these are the ways in which we constantly need to maneuver and adapt. Now, for instance, the technology is changing. There was once when I started get into this TA domain. At that point in time, as I was mentioning, it was heavily one-on-one dependent. When I was with the ABC consultants, we used to personally interview candidates and shortlist candidates, and candidates used to walk in to the office. That was the way that. Now that we are far removed, nobody has the time. There are candidates are being chased by so many consultants, so they don't have the time to attend any interviews face to face. Even nowadays, even the end client doesn't do any face to face interviews in a number of cases. So now we need to reinvent. We need to reinvent as to how we are able to reach candidates. At earlier portals, Naukri was a big place where we are likely to get the candidates that we want. But that was 10 years ago. Now we have evolved to candidates being present. In terms of availability, there are so many other ways that we can reach out to candidates, whether it is through social media or whether it is through LinkedIn. So the approach has to be that you have to be visible enough that candidate is able to connect with you. So I have my presence in LinkedIn, or my company's presence in LinkedIn is required, and we need to be in a position to reach out to candidates. And when you are when you are interacting with so many different other competition, how do you make yourself stand out? So these things were not very important earlier. As long as you had a good client, you could manage. But now, when there are so many good clients and candidates are always spoiled for choice, your own visibility is that much more important. If a candidate has more trust in a recruiter, or he sees the recruiter is being discussed or spoken about, he has that much more, is likely to have that much more comfort in dealing with that recruiter compared to someone who is totally fresh or totally unknown. So this word matters. So you need to keep thinking of ways as to how you are able to be in the face of the candidate, or accessible to the candidate, how, what kind of technologies that you can use, what kind of CRM software that you can use. So these are the different, I'm talking to you from the perspective of an independent business owner. Compared to Mr. Sambasivam, he will have a different and entirely different ways of adapting, and strategic ways of what adaptability is. So, as a small business owner, we need to be constantly redirecting our sale to remain in the business, to remain with the client, to ensure that the candidates that we are required to go after are accessible to us, and the client is happy with our performance. I hope I have answered your question to your uh, satisfaction, Vijay. And here, can I just suggest one thing, because we have 16 people listening. If we could ask their opinion on things, also it will be a little more engaging and entertaining. We have some pretty good people on the listeners' side. So if anybody is willing to share, it might be just a suggestion. Maybe Mr. Sambasivam agrees or not.
No, no, sure, absolutely fine. Yeah, it's better because otherwise it'll be monotonic. No, it's better that we get some feedback as well as some inputs from the audience. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prakash, for your insights on resilience and adaptability. Yes, we'll get some audience in and we'll have their questions also. Meanwhile, we'll discuss a few other questions as well. Uh, Sambasam sir, this is to you. What advice do you have for other leaders who are hesitant to embrace innovation due to fear of failure?
Okay, okay. So my theory on this is very simple. That we do have some people who are hesitant to embrace change, but in our company, fortunately, as I said, right, we have looked for people who have the orientation towards experimentation, orientation towards collaboration. So the current, at least last few years, we have not faced this challenge. But I can still visualize that there will be people who are resistant to change, because I have seen it myself in the beginning stages of what you can say my existence in this company. I joined about 10 years back. So initially there was a bit of a, I would not call it resistance, I would say hesitation to change and embracing new technologies and making those transformation, thinking that if we automate so much, what happens to my job? Will I lose my job? Is it something which is going to, am I cutting my own foot by that? All these thoughts were there. But fortunately, through, as Francis Prakash keeps saying, that we have to communicate. We have to keep on communicating to our people that this is the way forward, and this is not intended to take away the jobs of people, but it is intended to enrich the jobs of the people. If we can somehow move the needle towards enrichment of job, so that they could do more higher tasks like analytics and insightful decision making, and some kind of what you can say storytelling, presentation skills, business partnering. These are the areas where people can focus on, rather than just doing the data crunching and the transaction processing in a mundane manner. So that's something which I have noticed, and I would say, we were kind of fortunate to get the people move towards this, and we also constantly spend time on upskilling and upgrading the people within the team and within the company. We spend a huge amount of time and money to train and upskill the people. I would say, on an average, every individual gets at least 10 days of training every year, every individual. So this is something which is, I would say, a very large proportion of the time which the company invests, and we also have seen the returns come back to us very nicely. Hope that helps, Vijay.
Vijay, if you don't mind, can I add to what Mr. Sambasivan mentioned just now?
Absolutely,
Okay.
please.
So, upskilling is one part, and as Mr. Sambasivan mentioned, there is always some kind of a fear, especially in this current environment where there are a lot of layoffs and the jobs are not as many. At least in the tech space, the jobs are dwindling. In fact, just yesterday we were having a similar kind of a discussion, and Vijay was also there. So volunteering, when either the people themselves come forward or the company kind of gives them ideas and opportunities to widen their base, as Mr. Sambasivan mentioned, just not just transaction processing, moving into data, getting learning some new skill which can be an extension to your what we have been doing till now, can one is add to the person's portfolio, to the person's skills, and makes him more makes his job more secure. I mean, this discussion yesterday was happening based on how people can make their jobs more secure. So instead of being afraid of, see, automation has to happen. Automation is the way to go, and the amount of productivity improvement that AI and ChatGPT are bringing in, it cannot be that we can do away without automation. So people can offset this by getting into a wider range of skills and getting into a position where they have a greater understanding of what is the industry, what is the business about, and how we can tweak the processes and tweak the this what is happening in the business to the advantage of the organization. Unless we master the process of where automation can come, unless we are in a position to know how automation can be applied, if we just keep trying to be going on doing what we are doing better and better alone, I mean, if we but when I say better, I mean more efficiently rather than more effectively, we are setting ourselves up for replacement. Instead, if we take advantage of what are the other opportunities available, what are the other gaps in the process, when automation happens, how will the system modify itself? How will the process change? Because definitely it is going to impact other aspects. If one aspect is automated, it is going to impact in a way that we need to modify the way we are operating. So putting our mind into that, getting involved, will not just safeguard our job, it is going to boost your career. Just thought I'll give an add-on plus one to that. Thank you, Vijay. Thank you, Mr. Savaswan, and thank you, Vijay. You can take it forward.
Thank you, Sambasivan sir and Prakash, for sharing your insights. Yes, this is a great learning session, I would say. And this question is to both of you. How do you believe that future leaders can prepare for the challenges and opportunities ahead?
Prakash, you want to go first?
Uh, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Sambasivan. So we have actually, this is again coming back to what we have discussed about dynamic leadership and about uh, so how is leadership per se going to change? Whenever we talk about leadership, I am always reminded of this. When you see those ducks flying in the sky, or ducks or swans or whatever you call it, when they fly in the sky, they are in a V formation. And it is not that a static V formation, it is always dynamic. So one duck is leading, and then the other, and then the other. So I guess situational leadership is all about that. That technology is changing so fast that one single person cannot be on top of everything all the time. So that person should be able to know when he is not really good to be for any particular subject. A good leader will be in a position to understand that where are his weaknesses. That is not going to change at all, even in the coming decade. If we see, we there will be people in the person's team who might be able to take the ball and run much faster in certain aspects. So those people have to be brought forward and given more opportunities to show or deliver or bring more profitability to the organization as far as the business perspective is concerned. uh, Down the line, I guess to what extent it might change, I won't say. Maybe the dynamic nature, the adaptability quotient, if you can put it that way, how much we have to be adapting constantly might shift. We might have to become more adaptable, and the learning and unlearning process might be much more faster. But overall, the ability to risk, ability to take risks, the ability to let go of our desire to stand in front, to be humble enough to let other people lead whenever they are good, whenever they are having the right kind of skills. All those will matter when it in the next 10 years also. As they say, one of the biggest ability of a leader is to know that he is not the smartest person in the room. In fact, somebody who thinks that the person he or she is smart is not at all a right person for leadership. Being humble and allowing other people to take the responsibility in various aspects, I guess that is what the real smarts of a leader are going to be, and that has been always, and for the next 10 years also, I don't see any major difference. Over to you, Mr. Sambasivan, if you.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, I totally agree with all what Prakash has said, and it completely resonates with my thought process as well. I'll just give you one small data point. For me, leadership is about, I would say, how you are able to um motivate talented individuals. That's, I think, there are many things which are required, like good communication, good mentorship, good what you can say, presentation, walking the talk. If you say something, good consistency, lots of things are there. But ultimately, leadership is all about motivating people, is what I would say. So one small data point is that if say Tata Play is a say 17-year organization, if my overall age of my employees is say today say around say 6 years, which is decent, I would say. 6 years average age of employees quite decent. But I have within finance the average age of my team, I would say, is more than 10 years almost, which is I would say it's a good for a for a
For a
17-year-old
telecom company.
organization, which is this is
Yeah.
not a bad kind of a data point, which means that we are our I would say that within the company, I am proud of saying that the turnover of finance is among the lowest across any function. So that means that we are kind of able to retain talent, and somehow, and their engagement score, which used to be 10 years back at 52, now has
Hmm.
gone to 91. So which is again a matter of good humility, but at the same time it's a matter of pride for me that they are more engaged. As they are more engaged, they are retained well, and they are motivated as well also. And they are also, as you said, anybody who's done 10 years, they would have gone through 100 days of training and learning. So
Correct. Correct.
so that is this is the. So how do we motivate employees? Motivating people around yourself is, I think, the key for any leader.
Great. Yeah, I fully agree with that. Yeah, motivation is the key.
Yeah,
Trust,
yeah,
motivation,
trust. Yeah,
and how we are able to build trust with the team,
yeah.
because not easy, especially when we are having large
Yeah, there are a
teams.
lot of little things which matter actually in terms of communication, in terms of personal connect. A lot of things. It's not just one or two. There's no silver bullet, I would say, for
Absolutely. Absolutely.
for this leadership thing. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Vijay?
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Sambasivan sir, for sharing your
Yeah.
great insights on leadership, future leaders. Thank you. I see audience
Somebody else was also raising their
raising the
hand. You can.
hand.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I just have one, kind of pointer that I would like to get views on. I was off late consulting mostly with fintech organizations, and one of the trends that I saw in leadership is there's a very clear bifurcation for tech leadership and non-tech leadership. Okay. In terms of planning next 5 years, next 8 years, next 10 years, and stuff like that. So even while setting up, things like center of excellence or uh, any technology excellence divisions and things like that. So what are your views, from a telecom standpoint, and for Prakash from a general, hiring or general, people hiring standpoint? How do you people see that?
Mr. Sambasivan, you would like to go first?
Yeah, I can. So, my current view or the last few years' view is that everybody should know something about technology. So, when you say technology leadership, for example, as a CFO, I would feel that there is a need for me to know how the backend technology works and how the entire architecture and how the things works. I think now technology is everybody's baby. We cannot say that okay, technology is only meant for the IT team or technology team. That's my current view because the technology has become so ubiquitous and it's impacting every individual's work. Automation is what? It's only technology, right? So when you say technology leadership, we everybody should know the something about the technology and something about say all these transformation and artificial intelligence. I feel that each and every individual should have some basic knowledge. You don't have to be a coder, but you should know how to get extract and ask the right questions to get the kind of insights and analytics done. So that's
But
my yeah.
do you believe the paths are completely different? Because, see, I was recently consulting with a bank. Okay, so there was a group. Yeah, that is true that, mostly people would like to know what they're using as a software and kind of get acquainted with it and things like that. But the trajectory that I saw for the tech team, for example, the actual core, automation team versus, say like contact center team or mortgage team was completely different. Do you, in your own area, see that, or is that only
Yeah, yeah,
my
yeah.
perception?
So we see that. I'll just give you a small example as to how we recruit people. First thing is that in finance, the first thing I look for is that they should have some qualification around finance. It should be either a CA or an ICWA or some technical qualification. Plus, I also look for people who have some kind of coding knowledge, right? If somebody has got a Python or an R experience and he knows coding and he's got some software, I prefer that person versus a person who has a good professional knowledge but does not have the technology background. Even I have learned, for example, I spent about 18 weeks learning Python through MIT. So at least I believe that now technology is like ubiquitous and it is kind of mandatory for everybody to know something about technology because we have reached that kind of stage today. Like I'm subscribing to ChatGPT 4, for example, the monthly subscription, and see
Right.
what is the capacity of ChatGPT, right? So that's and I'm understanding what is a blockchain. I'm trying to get deeper into it. What is the NFT? What is blockchain? What is Bitcoin? What is this animal? How does it work? These are things which I think people should know. Is what I feel. It was not necessary in the past, but now is becoming so ubiquitous that people should know. Is what I feel. My personal view.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Can I just add to that, Mr. Sambasivan? Considering Rama, you mentioned about trajectories. I fully am with Mr. Sambasivan as far as everybody needs to be in technology. Definitely we need to get into some understanding of chat GPT has implications for so many different domains. But one aspect, since you mentioned banking and since you mentioned that line, what I have realized, what I have found is that in banking, especially banking and insurance and those kind of domains are highly regulated domains, and the acceptance of very advanced technologies might be a little behind. They would wait for what are the different ramifications of this new artificial intelligence before they allow their employees to use. Now, for instance, if you look at JP Morgan, even as of what I know, they are not allowing their organization, their employees to use AI based or software for their work purposes. Similarly, a lot of other banks are also holding back because they are waiting and watching as to how this is going to develop, what is it going to be the impact before they start accepting. Before once that technology reaches a certain level of maturity, only then they are likely to be allowing it in their organization. So the acceptance of this level of technology in the different teams within a bank might be different. If I'm trying to understand, I'm just trying to understand where are you coming from. Of course, we down the line organizations have to be accepting, have to be more dynamic in the technology front. No, technology or artificial intelligence is not restricted to tech firms. Every firm is now a technology firm, whether you like it. Manufacturing is moving into tech domain with the digital transformation. We are talking about industry 4 norms and all. So tech is no, we have to move towards tech, but the level of acceptance in a certain industry, sometimes there are other factors. It is not just about this is a new technology, we have to take it and go. There are certain industries which are highly regulated, where the ramifications of something going wrong or the impact can be very high. Industries go slow, they don't just jump in and get into it, they go a little slower on this. Banking is one example, insurance is another. So just thought I'll put in my two
Yes,
cents onto that.
I agree, Prakash. The adoption in banking is slightly slower than other industries. That is true.
True, because it's a
Rama, if I
regulation.
can add one small point here, you are right that adoption of technology is lower in banking. But I have seen the adoption in, say, some of the foreign banks which we interact with. They have very high adoption. But yes, there are some PSU banks which may be that they are also, in fact, coming up well. But some of the foreign banks, they are as good in technology, right? They have got really very advanced, what you can say, tools and techniques. Some of the foreign banks.
Yeah, true. But as Prakash said, there is a certain level of stabilization that they look for. I
Correct.
think some acceptance point, in terms of how it behaves, and
Correct.
also, geography-based regulations play some
Definite.
role
Definitely
in
yes. Definitely
banking
yes.
and insurance.
But it's a good question. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Rama.
Vijay.
Thank you, Rama, for that good question. Thank you, speakers, for your insights.
Hi, hello, good evening, everybody. And uh, so in leadership today also I had some sessions. So I'm learning about leadership. It was like to have a very open mind and to be finding the right people inside the organization who can work on the vision we have. So it's all going very good. And how we see the competition here, so between the team is my question. So, yeah, how a leader can see a competitive, environment. So,
I can take
am
this,
I making?
Prakash, if you're okay.
Absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
See, we have, like, as I said initially, also, we have more than a few thousand, a couple of thousand employees. So there is good competition, there is bad competition. We actually encourage healthy competition across teams. We actually do encourage healthy competition across teams, and it's actually a good thing. So what we do is that we have this kind of what we call as best practice sharing. I'll give you a small example. When we started looking at some tools for analytics, we said that Tableau is a good visualization tool, so that you can get a lot of insights and a lot of what you can say trending and other things, pattern generation. You can use the Tableau reports. So finance started this, and then over a period of time, the last 3 4 years, Now, across the organization, we got nearly 100 people who are using these Tableau reports for their own insights. Nothing to do with finance, also, right? So, what started off as a finance project in the Tableau utilization, as now company-wide use cases are available, and every function is using the Tableau as a tool to get greater insights and get faster decision making and more informed decision making. So we can say that okay, competition. You can say that okay, one function is doing something. We also look at, say, for example, if HR comes out with some best practice, we go and copy that, and we can use it in finance as well. If there is some good practice which is there, which we keep doing.
Okay.
So I would not call it competition. I would call it say collaboration.
Okay. Yeah. We see in that, in that perspective.
Yeah, yeah. It's always good to share good practices actually, which we keep doing all the time.
Thank you, Sambasivan sir, for your insights. Thank you, Pujita, for the good question.
Thanks and good evening, Sambashivan, and good evening, Prakash. Very nice listening to you. It was a great pleasure to be part of this conversation. A lot of insights we learned so far. My question on the in terms of the career progressions, especially on the mid career professionals, when you might have heard that, I mean, some of the mid career professionals would have seen the stagnant in their career progressions in organizations. So, what is strategy to address those concerns for mid-career professionals in your organization to to I mean embrace them for the further progression in their careers and especially on either side of it, I mean, as technology or even in the management side. So how do you address and what is the best practices that you engage in your companies, or maybe what is your advices on that? I would like to hear from both of you. Thank you.
Sir, Sambasivan sir, I think since it is about the organization side, I
Yeah.
guess you will be the right person. From the
Yeah.
candidate side, I can pitch in.
Yeah, I can just start off, then Prakash can join in. So it's a good question, Ram. What we do, right? So as I mentioned earlier, you need to keep building more and more skill sets. I'll just give a small example. As I said, we have got a lot of people in finance team, but also we also lend a lot of resources, and we get a lot of resources across cross functions. For example, I have got cases where the finance person has been transferred to sales function, finance person has been transferred to IT function, and we have taken resources from customer service function, and we have taken resources also from say even marketing function, we have given to marketing function. And even today I was having a conversation, my supply chain person as a middle management person wants to move to cyber security, for example. He has shown interest, and we said okay, let's allow that to happen. So this is it's as I mentioned earlier, in the olden days with one qualification you can survive for the entire 30-40 years of your career. But nowadays it's not possible. After 10 years you have to build in new skill sets, otherwise you cannot continue to flourish in the same portfolio unless you build new skill sets which are keeping on changing. So that would be my answer, that you need to develop new skill set outside your domain of comfort, and then only you can grow your career, is what my strong feeling as of today.
I would plus one to that, since Sambasivan sir brought in the fact about the individual approach. See, the industry is become too dynamic, too vibrant, and the mid-career professionals, especially those who have 15 plus, 20 plus years of experience, and if they are not there, see, right at the top, it is going to be tough. It's a, what do you call it? It's a pyramid. I mean, as you move up, it becomes narrower. The room becomes smaller and smaller. So that is a natural progression. And when that is the case, as a professional, as an individual, the mid-career people need to be on their toes now, especially. And we, as a talent person, I see a lot of mid-career professionals taking a hit, because already taking a hit because of automation. So we upskilling and seeing how they can be utilized, or let's say see how they can utilize their skills and how they can contribute to the organization, being adaptable, being open, not closing any doors, experimenting, staying curious. All these adjectives have to be tasted, checked, and that is a person who is willing to do all that is going to find that he's going to have an employment, because organizations also prefer these kind of people. We assume sometimes, we think that the organization is some very powerful body. uh, the bigger the body, they have that many more challenges to face. I mean, then they need people who can help them face those challenges. So as a person, as a mid-career professional with so much experience, who has seen an organization or what happens in organization, the person should be in a position to be able to help the organization in whatever challenges they are going to face. And for that to happen, the person has to be open, has to be adaptable, and be willing to take risks, take chances, make mistakes maybe. So I guess that's what matters. I mean, upskilling and being adaptable to what is happening. The environment is too dynamic, and it's just yesterday also we were discussing about, we have to be willing to step out of our comfort zone, especially when you are having 15-20 years experience and you know so much. The tendency is to think that, okay, we are very good, which is good to an extent, but you are very good in that silo that you are in. If you have restricted yourself to a silo, to really move forward, we need to step out, maybe network, reach out, connect with all the other aspects of business, be more connected, be more open to other aspects of the business, so that we know what is really happening and how we can contribute and how we can sustain our job and move forward. I hope I am answering your question. I really hope. If you have any questions or if you have any thoughts, counter, please do go ahead, Ram.
Prakash, great answer. Huh? I totally agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Absolutely. I mean, unless until right now, the upskilling is actually only bread and butter. I totally echo there, especially in the kind of a market dynamics. In the startup companies, few of the companies are not able to sustain because of the dynamics in the technology. They have I mean, they have come up with some product which is actually kind of a some product today, and for in next couple of months, the product is complete again. It's obsolete kind of situations.
Yeah.
The
You need to
organization,
keep reinventing every maybe 10 years
yeah,
or so. You have to reinvent yourself.
absolutely. Even the pace itself is going on. It's a too high, and it's a diversified. It's a too much micro, as well as, I mean, it's like, I mean, how we are getting into a medical industry, the too micro, where every specialization tomorrow it will be part. I mean, it's not to the organ level. It can even to the even subdivision of it. So in future. So the AI and ChatGPT, I'm great. We are also getting introduced some even that, I mean, ChatGPT 4 subscriptions. So that's what I mean. It's the bread and butter. So some might actually it was, I mean, very closed question. That was few scenarios where people who are qualified and who are actually equipped with the right skill set also getting stagnant is what I mean. I meant to ask there. So that was definitely, again, upskilling is definitely, and but who are already being qualified, sometimes it has been opportunity without opportunities. They were left as an stagnant for few years is what my concern it was about to ask. It was, but I mean, good. I got your answers. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Sambasivan sir, for your insights on Aniruddha's question. That was a great question. With this, we would like to conclude the session. Thank you so much, Sambasivan sir and Prakash, for accepting my invite and joining us today and sharing your insights and thoughts on all the questions asked to you. Thank you so much for your great time. Thank you, audience. Once again, I would like to see you on the next episode. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks a lot for inviting. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sambasivan. Thank you, audience.
Thank you,
Thank
Vijay.
you.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you,
Wonderful
Sabir.
session, Vijay, and thanks both of you, Prakash and Sabas.
Thank you, everyone.